I've trained calisthenics for 10 years. I've solely focused on strength. But what's on the other side? What can we learn from endurance? This is my journey to running a 70-kilometer ultramarathon in Japan. Okie dokie, boys and girls, it is day 77 of Road to Shimanami, the day after failing to run a full marathon. And, I was thinking about this marathon failure, but I was reminded of the words of a certain David Goggins, who, most of you, I guess, will know. But David Goggins, he talks about failures not as a failure, but rather as an attempt. And I think this is a very healthy mindset because, when you're trying something, whether it's in my case the full marathon or you are training the planche, we tend to say like, oh, we failed, when we didn't succeed. But in calisthenics, this is kind of different, For example, when you're training the one-arm planche, oftentimes it's just attempting, or when you're training any skill, oftentimes you just attempt a skill. However, no matter how many times we try that skill, we don't really think about it as a failure, do we? We think about it as an attempt, and the attempt made us stronger. But then for some reason, when we, move on from skills to different trainings, for example, you're trying to hit 100 push-ups, or you're trying to hit a certain amount of pull-ups in one workout, or you're trying to get a certain amount of dips in one set, or in my case, you try to run a marathon, right? When it comes to those workouts or like specific goals, we kind of don't have the attempt mindset, but I think the skill, the skill workouts and the attempt of, or just the mindset of it's an attempt, that's actually quite a good way to think about it, because guess what? Even though the attempt may take longer for a full marathon, right? Some training goes into it. You can't attempt it every day. You can only attempt it, let's say you can attempt it once a week, even though that is a lot, right? But it doesn't change the fact that I can go again. I can go out there again and try. And, if you are watching this video and perhaps you had one of those goals where, you thought you were going to succeed, you thought you had the strength to do something, but you didn't, or perhaps you failed the test, well, don't forget that you can just go again. And whether you failed your goal or you succeeded, it doesn't really change what you have to do afterwards, because even if you reach the goal, or, you succeeded in something, I guess you still have bigger dreams, right? So whether you failed today or you didn't, you succeeded, it doesn't really matter, right? You're still gonna go out there and train, you're still gonna go out there and try to get stronger, or you're still gonna go out there and try to study more or work more and achieve greater things, right? So, it's only a failure if you give up, is I guess what I'm trying to say, right? If I now stop running and I never run again, well, then it was a failure. But if I can pick up from here and just keep running, then it's just a part of the journey. So, you don't fail as much as you think. You just tell yourself that you're failing, but in reality, it's just an attempt. Anyway, tomorrow I'll be there for another training, so I'll see you then.